Hi, folks. Welcome to another 2012 Dispatch. I'm Alexander Trowbridge in the POLITICO newsroom, and I'm talking with Kasie Hunt, who is on the trail of Sarah Palin. She's now up in Boston. Kasie, we have been kind of watching the dispatches coming out of this trip as Sarah Palin makes her way up the East Coast. We even took a break from the Anthony Weiner controversy to watch her eat pizza with Donald Trump in New York. Now she's in Boston. It appears that she has fired a warning shot at Mitt Romney just as he enters the 2012 race. What's happening?
Yeah, well, we've all been asking her about it all day today because, obviously his announcement was up in New Hampshire, and we're actually on the road with her right now, headed up towards New Hampshire. And she sort of, at first, didn't really want to say anything. She said, it's just a coincidence that we're going up there. I'd love to meet with him, but I don't think it's on his schedule. Then we were at Bunker Hill, and she stopped to say, I think that winning over Tea Party voters is going to be a bit of a challenge for Mitt Romney. And she basically took some shots at the healthcare plan that he passed in Massachusetts. So she was standing in his home state and talking about how the individual mandates by health insurance that was included in that plan is basically representative of big government ideas that the Tea Party is not in favor of.
Wow. I mean, that's on the day that he jumps in, that's a big punch to take.
For sure. Well, and of course, what she has to say about these sorts of things is usually pretty calculated. So, she wasn't answering a question on the fly. It was clearly something that she thought about. And we're actually seeing also tangentially, there's a Tea Party group out west that's also launched a Stop Romney operation. So it sort of dovetails that way. And it'll be interesting to see if she continues to hammer Mitt Romney as an anti-Tea Party candidate.
Kasie, there's been so much mystery surrounding this tour, so much hubbub made about where she's going next. What has it been like being a reporter on the bus that tries to follow and track down Sarah Palin?
Well, it's just as much of a mystery to most of us as it is to our readers, which is it's unusual. Most of the time with presidential campaigns or campaigns generally, you can get a little bit of a heads up from staff about where people are going next, so you can meet the candidate at the next stop. So she's not doing that at all. So sometimes we'll catch wind of a rumor that we think, she might be going to Bunker Hill next. And those rumors have usually proven to be true, but not always. So you have a pack of media cars that are following this bus that she has and her couple SUVs that are in her entourage, like really extremely closely, running red lights from time to time in sort of a dangerous way. I mean, the caravan's probably 6 or 8 cars long at least. And folks in the back are really nervous about losing sight of her because if you lose sight of her, there's very little way to figure out where she's gone next except to talk to people who have managed to stick with her.
Well, what are you seeing from people? I saw that video that you sent back. It's up on our site now of the woman who pretty much looked exactly like Sarah Palin, who she met with in Boston. Is she getting a presidential reception? Are people receiving this on the ground like it is a presidential campaign stop?
In a way, yes. I mean, it's almost more like folks they feel like they've run into a celebrity. They know who she is. They want their picture taken with her. We've heard there was a chant at the Bunker Hill Memorial. One woman started yelling, "Run, Sarah, run." And there was some scattered applause at that. But, school children are also interested in seeing her and taking their photo with her. And she stops for group photos. And she's also consistently very vigilant about listening for those types of people. In the big scrums, there's this big, group of media cameras that surround her at every stop, and sometimes there have been local folks who try to get their voices heard over the reporters' questions, and she almost always stops to pull them out of the crowd, shake their hand, listen to what they have to say. So.
Wow. Well, stay safe and good luck chasing Sarah Palin. We look forward to more of your dispatches.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Up in Stratham, New Hampshire, Alexander Burns has been watching Mitt Romney enter the race for the presidency. Alexander, Mitt has been taking some fire from the right, and it appears that he really emphasized the economy as he made his grand announcement. Is that going to be enough of a shield to deflect any kind of attempts to flank him from the conservative side of the Republican Party?
I think it remains to be seen whether he's going to be able to sort of dodge fire from the right by doing this. But clearly, his approach in this announcement was to present himself as the guy with the best credentials by far on the economy. and just in general as a sort of turnaround artist, referring to his time leading the Salt Lake City Olympics as well. In some ways, this is sort of how people thought Romney should have, how some strategists thought Romney should have run his presidential campaigns 4 years ago, just sort of presenting himself as a Mr. Fix-It, as opposed to trying to satisfy the different ideological wings of the GOP. And if he sort of homes in on that theme, there's clearly a constituency in New Hampshire that's receptive to that.
You said that he tried to do this last time. What are the differences of Romney's great entrance this time and his last time running in 2008?
Well, certainly this time he enters as a front runner. He is, other than perhaps Sarah Palin, who we don't know if she's going to run, Romney is probably the best known person in the Republican field. He doesn't need to answer some of the really basic questions that other candidates are going to have to answer. And he can sort of stick to his own message for a while. If other candidates want to drag him into a fight, they're going to have to drag him there. At least for starters, he can talk about having been a private equity executive, having run the Olympics, and he can tell the story he wants to tell about Massachusetts until his rivals force him off message.
Now, I'm talking to you from inside the Beltway, and here it's very easy to dismiss Sarah Palin, but public policy polling has a new poll out today showing that Sarah Palin could be quite the contender. Is there a fear in the Romney camp that Sarah Palin will enter this race, that she isn't just a sideshow?
I think that for Romney, Palin actually cuts both ways. On the one hand, she's a very sort of opponent just by virtue of her natural political abilities, her ability to get attention. But for Romney, people who are wavering on whether to support Mitt Romney or someone like Tim Pawlenty or someone like John Huntsman, those are people who are looking for an establishment sort of mainstream candidate. They're probably not people who are going to switch over to Sarah Palin if she enters the race. If she gets in, she could swing a lot of those people into Romney's camp just by virtue of setting up the race as a two-person choice.
J. Mart has a great story out today. Jonathan Martin has a story about how Romney has to win New Hampshire, and it looks like he's doing all the right things to carry the right support, get the right sheriffs and local conservatives on board for his candidacy. Has he done anything wrong in New Hampshire? Is there any way that another one of these candidates could sneak up and steal this state from him?
Well, he's definitely not invincible here, but what he does have is, 25 to 35% of the Republican primary electorate that just likes him. There are probably some people who give his name in polls because he's the only person they've heard of, but, New Hampshire is a pretty clued-in electorate, so Tim Pawlenty is not necessarily an unfamiliar face at this point. John Huntsman, we're going to need to wait and see about him, but the challenge for Romney is just sort of holding that slice of the electorate that he has now, because if the other 65% gets divided up, he doesn't actually need to grow that far beyond where he is now. His folks are anticipating a competitive race here and everywhere. They also might take issue with the notion that New Hampshire is must-win, although most people agree that it's hard to see how Romney gets the nomination except through this state.
Well, with the entrance of this supposed front runner, I guess we can officially say that the 2012 race has begun, and we'll be looking to see what you're doing on your new blog with Maggie Haberman on 2012.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, thanks so much, Alexander.